Hey son, how you doing? Really miss you and miss reading to you at night. So I was trying to find ways that um, we could do that. So I figured might as well try to use some of the technology I have here at school. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a quick story about what's smaller than a pygmy shrew by Robert E. Wells. Here we go. So this here is a pygmy shrew. From the end of her nose to the tip of her tail, she's only 3 inches long. If you were a pygmy shrew, you'd feel mighty small. Even some toadstools would be taller than you. These toadstools are like mushrooms. So there's a little shrew, a cute little shrew. If you happen to meet an elephant, you'd probably think that you were the smallest thing in the universe. See, there's a big old elephant. Look how big it is. It's a big giant elephant, or pachyderm, because it's got hard, thick, hairy skin. The old pachyderm. Here's the shrew. There's the elephant. Now, compared to the elephant, the largest land mammal, she looks very small. Very, very small. See, there's the shrew, little tiny shrew, and then there's the element. Excuse me, elephant. But pygmy shrew, you're not so small, not compared to a little ladybug. So we got a ladybug and a flower. Cute little ladybug. Okay. Ladybugs are a kind of beetle, and beetles are just one of many insects. See, there's a ladybug flying, and the shrew's following it. What did the ladybug fly from? If we follow it back, it flew off an acorn. So, pygmy shrews are insect eaters, but they don't really like to eat the ladybug, so they leave the ladybug alone. They know that ladybugs have a very bitter taste. Blech. A little bitter taste. Blech. If you were a ladybug, you'd certainly think you were awfully small. For you, a leaf floating in a tiny puddle would look like a boat in a lake. See, here's a little ladybug landed on a leaf in a puddle. It's like a boat in a big giant lake. But the ladybug, you're not so small. The ladybug's not small, not compared to those tiny creatures that live in the drops of water on the leaf boat. See the little tiny creatures? There's one, two, three, four, five. Can you count how many's in this one? Can you count those? There's one, two, three. And then there's one, two in that puddle. That's pretty cool. Now, in the water drop, there are two kinds of one-celled animals known as protozoa. Cells are tiny building blocks that make up living things. Most plants and animals, even smaller ones, are made up of millions of cells, and our bodies are made up of trillions of cells. So there's these different cells. There's the little green fuzzy ones and the little brown ones. Now, there's a ladybug. If you look closer at the protozoa, there are ones that look like slippers with whiskers, called Parameciea, and ones that look like blobs, they're amoebas. So the whiskers, I think I'm saying it right, is Parameciea, and these are amoebas. The whiskers on the Parameciea are called cilia, and they are like paddles that help propel them through the water. Now, if we were to look at the amoeba, this amoeba, it moves slowly, but pushing out part of its body and then flowing back into it. Pushes its part of the body, it extends out, and it flows the rest of it to that part. Because of this, amoebas are always changing shape. Paracemas and amoebas are so small that you can barely see them without a microscope. But did you know that there were smaller things inside the drop of water? Even smaller. Yes. A tiny paraceum would seem like a giant sea monster compared to all the bacteria. There are many kinds of bacteria. Some cause disease, but most are harmless to people. In fact, many are useful because they live inside our bodies and help us digest food. That's all these little things on the outside. Like protozoa, bacteria are made up of just one cell. But bacterium cell is much smaller and simpler. Most bacteria are so small that thousands of them could not fit in the dot of an eye. So that little dot right there, that little tiny dot, thousands of them couldn't fit there. Or thousands of them could fit there. But even bacteria are made of smaller things called molecules. Yay, molecules! Wait, not so fast. Before we look at molecules, you have to realize how incredibly, astonishingly tiny they are. So tiny, tiny, tiny. We look at just one part of this if we took just one part of this bacterium right here and made it this size, a molecule inside of it would just be a tiny little speck, even smaller. Living cells and most other things in our world are made up of molecules. There are many kinds of molecules. Some are much bigger than others. To see even the biggest ones, science must use a very powerful, very special kind of microscope. Since all living things contain water, a water molecule, a very tiniest particle of water, is one of the many kinds of molecules we would find in this bacterium. If we just pick one water molecule, right, we're going to take that one little water molecule and made it bigger, it might look something like this. A water molecule is one of the smallest molecules, so it's so tiny that even in this microscopic bacterium, there'd be so many thousands of them. But what are those three round things that make up the water molecule? See, there's 1, 2, 3. Well, if we were to figure that out, what they're called is atoms. All molecules are made up of atoms. There are about 100 kinds of atoms, and they combine in different ways to make molecules. When two hydrogen combine atoms with one larger oxygen and make a water molecule, it'll look like this. There's 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. But even those tiny atoms are made up of even smaller things. Tiny particles called electrons whirl and whirl and whirl and whirl around within the atom about the speed of light, so they would appear like a blur, almost as fast as you run. A blur like a spinning fan blade. Electrons form cloudy shells of the atom. The dot in the center is called the nucleus, shown, and it's much bigger than it would really be. The nucleus is actually really, really tiny. Like our universe, atoms are mostly empty space. If an atom were the size of a house, its nucleus would be tinier than a grain of salt. Now, a closer look at the nucleus of an oxygen atom, we now see it's made up of even tinier particles. They're called protons and neutrons. Protons and neutrons. The number of protons determines the kind of atom. The nucleus of an oxygen atom has 8 protons and 8 neutrons. The neutrons help keep the atom together. So protons and neutrons are made of even tinier particles. And these particles are called quarks. And with 3 quarks making up each proton and neutron. So each little proton and neutron have quarks. And it's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Quarks are so amazingly tiny that scientists can't really measure their actual size. They're so small. But with special machines, they can figure out their weight. A quark then is the quark then the lightest particle there is? Not quite, remember? It's really close, but it's not even close. Even though their sizes are too small to measure, a quark is known to be more than 600 times heavier than that little tiny electron that spins around. That's kind of cool. Electrons, protons, neutrons, electrons, protons, neutrons, and tiny little quarks. What an amazing assortment of tiny particles. They make up every atom, and atoms are made up of physical substance. Everything that's physical that we can see and touch is made of atoms. Everything that people make is made of atoms, like the car, mommy's car and daddy's car, and Papa Joe's car, the clock that we look at, the little iPad that you're looking at right now, every sink, every shoe, every boat, every ball. Everything in nature is made up of atoms. Every grain of sand, every drop of water, every tree, every flower, every person, animal, metal, and mountain. Even the world itself is made up of atoms. So here's the little world. Everything is made of an atom. Out of atoms. So every planet and every star and every comet and every asteroid, every moon, every meteor, in fact, every physical thing in the universe, everything, all these things that we see here, are made up of atoms. Trillions and more trillions, and countless more trillions of atoms. How many atoms do you suppose it took to make you, Pygmy Shrew? How many atoms? I don't know. Lots and lots and lots. Can you count how many petals are on the flower? Can you count them out with me? Let's start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 17 petals. How many leaves? That one's really easy. You tell me? How many leaves do you see on the flower? Did you say 3? I hope you did. All right. Oh, you could also say 4 because one of them over here. All right, son. Love you. I hope Hope you enjoyed this. This is a different book. I love and miss you so much. I hope you sleep very well. And big hug, and I'll see you soon.